Grave Digger Queen here, and guess who sent me another tale to wet y'all whistles? We got a Zack and Harlii story sent to me with a bow on it. So I think Zack and Harlii go on vacation in this one or something, I don't know, but I'm seeing if they're giving this story to me, I'm sure something horrific happens. The name of tonight's tale is Did You See by Montsho Shelby. I'll see you at the end, children. The show was gaining in popularity to the point I got noticed in public a few times. At the end of the day, I wasn't completely prepared to handle it. Am I not going to be able to be a real person anymore? Am I going to have to watch my back at all times for that psycho fan that wants to kidnap me and break my legs misery style? In the end, I didn't really know. When I told Harlii about this, she laughed her ass off. She told me that this was what it was like being a woman who looked like she looked, and that I was going to need to get over that shit. Ultimately, she was right about this one. It was me being a bitch, but I'm allowed to work it out and feel a way about it. So I decided to take this trip to Yellowstone to rock climb and cave explore. I figured this would be my last hurrah, being a regular dude. Then after this, I prepared for the world to be all up in my business. I don't know how I managed it, but somehow I got Harlii to tag along with me on this little excursion. Being out with nature was going to clear my head and give me the insight to know what the fuck was important to me really. At least that was my hope. The first hurdle I encountered wasn't the mountain or the caves at all. It was Harlii not wanting to let go of her luggage. I had quite a time getting her to whittle her wardrobe down to one backpack. She wanted me to bring all my camera equipment as well, just in case we needed to fill in location shots. I told her the point of this trip was to be away from our normal lives, not to bring it with us. I somehow managed to compromise in getting her to bring a backpack and a saddlebag along with one GoPro, just in case. The chances that we would run into anything that remotely resembled a case was astronomically low. But I suppose when you've lived the life we have, the darkness is just drawn to you. We got on a plane, made the drive, had a few laughs, but that's not where the story really started. If I were to tell it correctly, the story started in the midst of our first climb. I swear to fucking God, Zack, if you drop me, I'll haunt your ass, she said. I loosened my grip so that she could feel it. Harlii squealed. It was fucking hilarious, really. Why do you want to haunt me? You want to see me in the showers? I said playfully. Harlii must have been actually scared, because if she wasn't, she would have certainly had some sort of smart-ass remark. Don't fucking play, she started to say, before I cut her off and pulled her up to the ledge. It was a modest 70-foot drop, potentially a survivable fall. Potentially, but she was in no danger. We were all strapped in. Once we reached the top, she punched me in the face as I laughed, and she doesn't particularly punch like a girl. You weren't in danger, I said with a cheeky smile. Fuck is your problem, said Harlii. I was just lightening the mood. Pull that shit again and you're gonna be limping your ass out of this forest. I grew quiet to let her cool down, but at the same time I surveyed the land. When the moment passed, I nudged her shoulder with mine. You still love me, I said playfully. She gave me a side eye, but I could feel her answer. You see, me and Harlii worked together for years, and we did love each other very much, but our relationship never moved out of friendly and professional. It wasn't like I couldn't see her, because God knew I could, but it all became more a question of timing and opportunity over attraction and compatibility. Harlii was with a guy when we first met, and she had kids by him. Then, when he was out of the picture, I was serious with someone. Now that we had been working together so well and so long, neither of us truly gave it a second thought. We were just close friends that had been conditioned to stay on our respective sides of the fence. As we walked through the brush and ate granola bars, I saw a perfect spot to explore. It was a cavern that was hidden by trees and protected by the moderate climb it took to get up there. It looked big enough that we wouldn't get too lost too quickly, and I figured that it would be simple enough to entice Harlii to start. If I were doing this for myself, I would have upped the difficulty, because I suppose I'm just that way. How about that cave there? I said.
How about what?
She said back. We check it out.
We?
Yeah, we. What did you think I came here to do this alone?
I climbed up that mountain, now you want me to go my ass in a cave? Sometimes I forget you're a white boy.
I laughed. Why don't you want to go in there? I asked, preparing myself for the hilarious response she had queued up.
Have you seen cave spiders? You ain't getting me to go in there.
I knew this was going to be a hard sell because of her phobia, but at the same time, I've seen her face down monsters that have made grown men shit themselves. I just had to make it more about the adventure than the potential danger. Okay, there are probably spiders in there, but guess what? There are spiders everywhere the moment you step out of your house. If we have enough light and you let me go first, we should be able to avoid the worst of it, I said, but realistically, there was only so much I could do about it. She took a few deep breaths and paced around like someone who was psyching himself up to plunge into cold water. Then she said all at once,
You know what? I'll just wait outside. You can scoop me when you're done.
I smirked, but nodded. I knew this was going to take a more delicate touch. You know what? You're right. I should at least scope it out before you come in, I said to her. I turned to face the darkened cave with my lantern leading the way. When the light chased the darkness away, it was beautiful. It had several branching paths. And from the smell of it, there may have been some sort of water deposit down there, or running water. I couldn't tell. This leg of the journey was easy, though as it was with all nature, your level of difficulty varied and tended to change at a moment's notice. It was a fairly easy, sloping incline down where I decided to get Harlii in on this. I sat my gear out and laid down. "Harlii!" I yelled with urgency.
Yeah?
She yelled back. "I think I may have broken my leg. I need you to get in here," I said as weakly as I could. I couldn't see her, but I would have paid to see her wheels turning. I could only imagine the pacing and the awkward starts and stops she made before finally coming down. She made her way down, and I whimpered a little louder after every step she made. She rushed to my side with a truly endearing look of concern. She rode up my pant leg, inspecting it below the knee. "No, it's higher," I said. She urgently reached my inner thigh, prodding it to see where the break was. "You're getting closer," I said with a cheeky grin. Harley's concern flew out the window when she saw me smiling.
"Fuck you,"
she said. I couldn't stop laughing. She turned to leave, but I grabbed her elbow. "Since you're already here, just look around, won't you?" Harlii did take a look around, and just as I planned, her sense of wonder outweighed her fear.
"It is nice. I didn't think it would be like this."
"I know. It surprises me every time. Stay behind me and I'll scout the path and you can follow." Harlii nodded in agreement. I decided we should go from bottom to top. Seeing that we already had an upwards climb, we may as well take a break doing a downwards one. The path swelled and shrank, creating the most beautiful abstract patterns.
"I'm sorta curious why you wanted me down here knowing I was gonna slow you down."
I honestly hadn't given it much serious thought until that very moment, so I took a second to work it out in my own head. You're my partner. If I was going to go anywhere, I'd rather you slow me down than you not be there. When you've been through as much shit as we have, it just makes sense that I need you getting my back.
Same here. So the next time I go dress shopping, I'll make sure I call you,
she said. Don't fucking tempt me. If you have me co-signing your wardrobe, you'd probably end up looking like a gay lumberjack. We chuckled for a moment until I heard the drip of running water. We approached a crystal clear grotto, one in which tiny shards of light broke into streams reflecting off the clean water, lighting up the cavern as if we were sitting in the middle of a crystal. "This is when it's worth it," I said, and Harley's lack of a smart-ass remark was all the acknowledgement I needed.
"What's that?"
Harlii said, pointing into the trickling stream of the grotto. I strained to see, but there was a glint amongst the rocks under the water. Well, let's see, I said as I took out my cell phone and put it in a waterproof plastic bottle along with my socks.
I didn't bring my bathing suit.
Harlii said. You don't need one, I said. She rolled her eyes. This time I wasn't actually messing around and trying to be cute. No, I mean, if you get in the water, just swim in your clothes and seal up anything you can't get wet. Harlii let it drop and I moved along. I dove into the water. I swam to the odd occurrence and saw the tiny glint of metal at the bottom. When my hand reached into the gravelly rock, I pulled out a brooch. I didn't have enough time to fully inspect it under the water, but when I submerged, we both got a better look. Do you know what this is? I asked her. Harlii took the bauble out of my hand and held it up in one of the god rays of light. The brooch twinkled with brightness enough to blind for a fraction of a second. We both reflexively blinked, and when our eyes opened, nothing seemed to be out of place. That was until we attempted to leave. As we entered the passage that led out, the jagged rocks began to make way for flat and manicured walls. I don't remember any of this, I said to Harlii just to make sure we were seeing the same thing.
No, we didn't. Let's go back,
she insisted. We traveled back towards the hidden grotto, and instead of the beautiful hidden place we found carved from God's hand, we were in what appeared to be a dungeon.
Check the brooch,
Harlii said immediately. Having dealt with things of this nature so frequently, it was hard for us not to figure in the notion of supernatural intervention. The brooch was the same as it was before. There was no physical change in it that either of us could see.
Did you bring your gun?
Harlii asked. Nah, did you? I shot back. She shook her head in the negative. Even though the chances of a gun working on something that could manipulate reality or create illusions, or whatever the fuck it was we were seeing, was slim, it was always better to have one than to need one and not have one. After a while of traversing the steadily shrinking stone walls of the dungeon, we were nearly crawling on all fours due to how little space there was. We approached a thick little door that had just enough room to crawl through. Are you ready? I asked Harlii, who silently nodded. I pushed the small square door, and it led out into what I could only describe as a basement, a huge basement. There was light cast by torch, and I could now see an elaborate pulley system just to the right of me I hadn't at first noticed. I looked, and there was a small shaft that led up. It was a dumbwaiter, a little mini elevator used in mansions to send things up to other levels of the house for whatever reason. Of course, I preferred climbing up than moving straight out. As I went up the crawl space, I made sure to keep my eyes on Harlii, because if I knew anything about these creepy-ass mazes, the moment you lost sight of people, they had a tendency to vanish. When I climbed up to the next level, it led to a kitchen, which was the case in most dumbwaiters' designs. I heard the soft sounds of classical music playing and the chatter of people making themselves busy in the kitchen. I slipped back down to the basement level with Harlii, who eagerly awaited my report. Some sort of Bugs Bunny sounding music playing down there and people in the kitchen, I said, as if reading my mind and deciphering it into language that made logical sense. Harlii said,
Do you mean classical music?
Yeah, that.
Seeing we don't know what the fuck it is we're dealing with, I think we should attempt to blend in as much as we can until we find a way back. And Zach, record as much of this as you can,
said Harlii. I smiled. She knew I would. I climbed up the small elevator shaft with Harlii. We passed over the kitchen and decided to go a level up to see if there was less activity going on. On the second level, there was a hallway with white and black checker patterns all over the floors and ceilings, which gave the place a look of an optical illusion, moving and transforming after every step we took. Rooms lined the halls with ornate doors, and walls were littered with candelabras and paintings depicting people who dressed like they were of high society. We dipped into the first door, and we saw in the Victorian-styled room there were two outfits laid out. One was an impeccably clean and pressed black suit. The other was a sterling white ball gown. Positioned where the theoretical heads would be were two crowns. Go ahead, put it on, I said to Harlii.
Turn around, Dick,
she said while I gawked at her. I smirked playfully, turned around, and put on the suit that was laid out. I always joked with Harlii because I knew nothing would come from it. Though I did wonder sometimes what would happen if she decided to call my bluff. The suit fit me perfectly, too perfectly, and the gown fit Harlii as if it was meant for her. And with her ass-to-waist ratio, it seemed as if it almost couldn't be a mere coincidence. I picked up the unusual crown and placed it back on the bed, though Harlii wore hers. "Why are you wearing the crown?" I asked.
"It came with the outfit, me as well,"
she shot back. I think it went unspoken that every step of the way felt tailored to us, down to the amulet grabbing our attention in the first place. Seeing we saw no other reason not to proceed forward, until we had a reason not to, we did. The music grew stronger as we walked into the hall. We could hear the soft whispers of a swelling mass of people. We found our way to a hanging balcony that overlooked a grand ballroom. And below were people that danced a waltz to classical music with heavy violin undertones. Luckily, I believed we fit in well enough that we didn't stand out. There was a man sitting in an ornate chair in what I could only describe as a throne on the far side of the ballroom, with a bored look as if he had seen a million of these things and was over it now. He was pale, had long dark fingernails like a metrosexual, and dressed like he was Moriarty or some shit. Harlii nudged me and cocked her head towards the overly emo man in the throne. "Yeah, I see him. What you got odds on he is? Vampire?" I said.
"Bye for sure,"
she shot back in a whisper. I said vampire, that was implied.
"Nah, I'm going for cursed soul or something,"
Harlii said. "Okay, you want to put $5 on it?" I said, knowing that these little quips were the only way we could stay calm when we were sitting at the threshold of death.
"You're on,"
said Harlii. We curled our pinkies around each other, and it was a bet. There was a second throne on the other side of the ballroom, in which no one sat. Before we got to take in more details, a man and woman dressed in similar outfits walked onto the balcony. We did our best not to look nervous, but also not to speak first lest we say something too out of pocket and instantly get found out.
"I don't think I know you two. Are you here for the games?"
said the pale white woman with wispy red hair.
"Of course,"
said Harlii so casually even I sort of believed her. The man took the woman by the waist and said, "We have been waiting for the guest of honor for some time. Do you have any idea who they may be?" "Your guess is as good as mine," I said.
"Come,"
spoke the woman as she took her partner's hand, and they stepped off the balcony together. Me and Harlii both ran to the edge to see how bad they hurt themselves, because this drop was easily 20 feet. By the time we looked down, the couple were amongst the dancing revelers, as if they had been there the entire time. "Maybe we can find a way out of here," I said. Harlii nodded, and we took our chances wandering this Addams family-ass mansion. We made it to the first floor and to the kitchen. If we didn't know anything, we knew that the help were usually not that in on it, and if they were at least a bit disgruntled, or else they'd be out there flossing and sitting on thrones. The kitchen staff wore all Victorian outfits and moved with dire purpose, and, as we expected, they were too busy to regard us. I used that to my advantage and pocketed a sharp kitchen knife when I was sure no one saw me. We noticed that for as hard as they were working, they absolutely had no food. They opened cold ovens and rushed out with empty trays. There was a window that appeared to lead somewhere that wasn't the house, but it was made of pure darkness, with strands of lazy smoke rolling through it. I opened the window, grabbed a barren plate, then slowly pushed it through the dark. When I pulled it back, it appeared to be fine, but just in case there was some other bullshit I hadn't factored in, I tossed the plate through the threshold. After I heard a definitive crash, I was confident there was, at the very least, a ground. I slowly pushed my pinky finger in the all-consuming blackness, hoping that if we were going to die when we passed through it, it wouldn't be because the dark itself killed us. When I pulled my finger back and inspected it, it was neither hot nor cold, battered nor bruised. "Alright, let's see if we can slip away," I said to Harlii as I stepped into the unknown.